I was running late and ate too fast. Ooh, I should probably turn the TV off, or at least mute it. Angels and Yankees tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, everybody. We are here with Steven down near New Orleans. We're getting ready to record Monday's podcast, so hang out with us as we talk about a trip from last fall. It's going to be fun. Oops. Too many windows. Okay. Seriously, we're going to talk about sci-fi because every show we talk about sci-fi and I still can't get in there, even though
I know. Like,
and Scott had an ADR for sci-fi, but it didn't work out for our plans. We had to cancel it, and that almost killed me. But it just wasn't going to work when we were down there last week. I was like, "Oh, you're killing me." Yep, because of Paige, my daughter only had one day, and
yeah.
we had to make sure she got to the studios. So
Yeah,
sci-fi was going to be the next thing.
her first time in Galaxy's Edge, which is crazy.
Yeah, she'd never been. I was like, "You've never been on the Skyliner?" I couldn't believe it because like she used to go with me, 3, 4, 5 times a year, like back when she was younger. And now that she's an adult, and lives in Chicago and actually has a job, she hasn't been in 3 years. And I was like, "That's weird." It's just like, yeah, I haven't seen.
When you grow up and you can't do the things you used to do all the time.
Yeah. And she's like, I got to go back to work like on the 8th. I was like, so you only get one day in the park. So like buying her a 1-day park ticket almost killed me. Like I was like, oh my God, a 1-day ticket is so expensive.
Oh, I remember spending that for my wife for marathon weekend in January. So
killed me. I just like paid for it. And I was like, this is just part of the whole vacation package, like price. Like I'm not thinking like all day. I tried not to think about I paid like $170 for this ticket for her to go to this one. Like, which is this per ride? I'm not even because we bought Genie Plus that day. I mean, we did it up because
you did it right though. So
yeah, we had a good time. I mean, it was a great day. Other than it rained like a few times, like super hard. I got to meet a listener from Sydney, Australia, who gave me this awesome hat. That now I'm a fan of the Sydney Swans. It's an Australian rules football team.
Okay.
But I got to watch. I have ESPN Plus because that's how we watch my daughter's basketball team. They're a Valley basketball team, and but I figure Australian rules football has to be on ESPN Plus because back in the day, that's really what they used to have only.
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid, the score touchdown, the guy would come out with like the fedora and just be like, "You're younger than me," but that was like the only thing they had. They didn't have major sports,
right?
So. Oh, well, get Peacock Plus. You can watch it there. Okay, well, maybe I'll get Peacock. I've adopted this team, and like Scott and I were talking because Aiden, he's super nice. Give me this hat. I was like, but what if they're like the, I don't know, like what, like the Oakland Raiders of like the, like Australian football, and like I'm like all proud of them and stuff, like the meanest team in the league. They came in second last year. I've done research.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So. At least you know they're good, even if they may be mean.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, and yeah, they're good, and they have a cool, the Swans. That's pretty. They go by the Swannies, and they have a sister team in Chicago, actually. The same.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I would say they have every sport. Even I'm not doing water polo. I can't get over. Dude. Yeah.
I only watch water polo when it's on the Olympics.
Yeah, I watch everything in the Olympics, and I think I want to be I want to do every sport when I'm in the Olympics. And I'm like, I'm not that athletic, and then I get back to reality, especially curling. Like in the Winter Olympics, I'm like, I should be a curler. Like every dude that like goes to a bar, I think feels like they can be a curler. Like I got a broom.
I mean, when the U.S. team won gold, like 2 Olympics ago or something like that, and it's like those are just like normal dudes.
Yeah, every dude like in their middle age is like, I could be an Olympian.
Exactly. It's never too late. It's never too late.
Yeah. My wife's made me sweep stuff up in the kitchen. Like I could yell and scream and slide a rock. I mean, come on. Shh. And then I'm like, no, I can't. Okay, well, I appreciate that, Steve. Thank you. And I will have to check that out because I got to watch some Australian rules. So this thing, I don't know if it's in season. I got to do a little more research because maybe it's their off season. I don't know. All right, so we're going to do this trip report so we can get cracking here. All right, so it's going to be episode 2324. All right, that's there. Looks good. Okay. Welcome to episode 2324 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Monday to you. Hope you had a great weekend, and thanks so much, as always, for dropping in and starting another great week with us here on the show. And as we do here on Mondays, it's time for a trip report. In this one, special trip report for those folks that are headed down to Walt Disney World this fall. If you're going to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, you're going down for food and wine, which back in the day would have kicked off in the fall, but it's been going on already. I mean, get to Canada right there in July, like right now, and get that cheddar cheese soup or whatever. Nothing like some cheddar cheese soup in 110-degree heat index, but Disney. So we're going to get you excited for those fall trips with a fun trip report and hopefully avoid some of the pitfalls that happened last fall and have a good time. So we're heading down to New Orleans, the Lake Pontchartrain area. I think I said that right, with Lister Steven. Steven, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me. You absolutely did say it right.
So Nolans or New Orleans. Since I'm from St. Louis, like I'm up the river from you. I mean, we're both like in a river town, but I mean, I should say New Orleans because I'm not from down there.
I say New Orleans. I know very few people who say Nolans. So
yeah, it was one of those things. I spent a couple of summers in Huntsville, Alabama, working at Space Camp, and you could tell the natives, right? Because they all said Huntsville, and like, you meet people that Louisville, right? I say Louisville, Kentucky, not Louisville. And I'm like, you're a poser if you say that, right? If you're not from there, because I try to say it, it'll feel like I'm barfing words. So
yeah, exactly.
I appreciate your honesty. All right. So, and all the non-Americans that are listening in, because right now I am rocking, by the way, from awesome listener Aiden in Sydney, Australia. I'm rocking my Sydney Swannies hat, an Australian rules football team that I am going to, apparently Steve is in the live chat. He's let me know I need to subscribe to Peacock Plus so I can watch my squad play Australian rules football, because they have that, and apparently water polo, which I'm not going to watch. But if you're a water polo player, I don't know the rules, but I don't know the rules of Australian rules football either too much. But I'm going to learn it because now I have a hat and I have a team, so I'm invested. But thanks to Aiden for the hat. I'm rocking it tonight on the show. Anyway, let's get to this trip report. But before we do, Steven, give me a little background on your Disney fandom. Like, where did it all start, and how'd you end up listening to some Disney podcasts?
So I was a Disney kid growing up. Like, we were the family that had the Disney Channel. We had the VHS tapes that got worn out and had the scratchy, the Be Kind, Please Rewind rentals from Blockbuster. So Disney, as far as that goes, has really always been a part of our family. And then growing up, we actually never made it to Disney World until I was a senior in high school. So, but even from that point on, I was just kind of hooked with what the parks were doing, because I was back in 2003, just seeing how they've now evolved now 20 years later, being a dad and bringing my own kids and seeing the experience through their eyes. It takes you back to those times when you're a kid and you're just remembering the nostalgia of the movies, but watching it and getting to relive those moments.
So let me ask you this. What do you remember from your first time going to Walt Disney World? Because I think it's that first time when you actually get on property and you see the scope of the place and, the details of the resorts or even of the theme parks. I remember as a fifth grader, we didn't obviously stay on site. We just spent a half a day at the Magic Kingdom passing through. My dad caught a Major League Baseball pitcher, and we were driving his two poodles from Clearwater, the Philly spring training, up to Philly for when they broke spring training to get his dogs to where he lived during the season. And we spent a half a day at the Magic Kingdom. I just remember, for some reason, the hat shop in the Magic Kingdom. Mm-hmm. I remember this store was so different than my Six Flags here in St. Louis. The store had a tree and thorns coming out of the tree and characters in the hat store. At Six Flags, it would just been a store with hats, and it was themed and everything in the whole place. I don't remember many rides. I remember 20,000 Leagues. We did that. That was awesome. But what do you remember from your first trip that maybe stuck with you that you think maybe kept you wanting to go back?
I don't know if it kept me wanting to go back, but I remember because I had friends that were it was a senior trip, so we were going, and so I had friends that had been before, and they were saying, "Oh, well, we have to make a mad dash for Splash Mountain to the Fast Pass kiosk to put in our paper tickets to be able to get the Fast Pass time to come back later on to be able to go through the Fast Pass line." So I think that's the most like vivid memory I have, like just kind of doing the speed walking through down Main Street and being being 17 at the time, like I, you know, the castle wasn't really the thing that I was going for. Is like I want to go on the rides, so like that was the thing that really stuck out for me is like the rides. And then as time progressed and seeing all the changes that Disney was making over the course of that, that's what kept me wanting to go back just to see, hey, what's new at Disney. Let's make a trip and go.
Awesome. So if you could bring back one thing that has gone extinct in your time period since you've been going, is there one thing you wish you could bring back?
Um, I mean, I love Splash Mountain for what it was, but I mean, I'm excited about Tiana, especially since it's representing of where I'm from, being New Orleans and Louisiana, and the fact that it's something new. Because I mean, as Walt said, Disneyland will never be complete. So I like that idea that it's always going to be evolving and moving forward. The obscure movie Meet the Robinsons, where like the tagline is "Keep moving forward," and I think that is a lot of what the Disney parks have done. They've just kept moving forward with the new innovation, new rides, new experiences for people to enjoy. So, I mean, I'll miss Splash Mountain, but I don't know if I really want to bring it back knowing what's coming up.
I love that it took us 2,300 plus shows to bring up Meet the Robinsons. There we go. Point for you. Oh, that's awesome. That's great. No, I'm sure we said it somewhere back, 1,000 shows ago. So that's great. So one other thing, have you ever been to Disneyland? Though you kind of mentioned Disneyland and Walt's mantra out there. Have you made it to the West Coast?
Have not made it to the West Coast and Disneyland just yet, and been listening to you talking about it, and just like it's really piquing that interest. I'm like ready to go out there, and just having small kids right now is just a little bit harder to travel with them. So Disney looking a little bit closer, and it's just been our home park, and especially with my in-laws being a part of the vacation club, which is how we got this mainstay that we're about to talk about. It's just easier for us all to travel over to world as opposed to land.
All right. Well, hey, let's hop into this trip because I love talking about trips, and this is one from last fall. So tell us about this trip. Who traveled with you? And first of all, how did it all come together? Why did you decide on these dates? And you kind of mentioned how it started to come together, but give us the background on it.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say it's a completely COVID rescheduled trip. It's kind of a quasi, because we did end up going. We were supposed to do Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party in 2020. However, the parks had closed and they had canceled all the parties, but we still went during that park's closure over the Labor Day weekend. Totally different trip than what we had anticipated having at that time, but we were still able to go, which was such a blessing. So the people that went with us is my wife's family. So she has a brother and a sister, their kids, and then her parents and our family and our kids. So a total of 14 people, wow, ranging from just over a year up to the 60s.
So let me ask you this. So because we get this question a lot. I mean, I get this question a lot in my professional, job as a travel agent. What's your, and again, I give advice because I deal with folks that have this, but personally, I deal with my nuclear family most, my 15-year-old, my wife, and sometimes my 26-year-old, but a lot of times she taps out because she's busy with her other jobs. What was it like managing that large group? What did you learn? Because I think everybody learns something different. Some people are more technologically connected, and they use technology to keep everybody informed with expectations and, like where you're going to be when and all that kind of stuff. How did you go about keeping, like, herding the cats to get everybody where they needed to be?
Right. So this was our third big family DVC trip. So with each trip, I've learned something new, because we typically do every 2 to 3 years with a large family like this. So this was the first time having our niece that was just over a year at that point. So my brother-in-law experiencing things with kids. I'm very tech savvy, so I'm definitely on the My Disney Experience app. I'm the one who's typically planning and making sure reservations are getting set and done, especially with having such a large group. Dining reservations, we're having to split up, group of 6 here, group of 8 there, 7 and 7, just making sure that the times are close together. And it was crazy because like we went to like scheduled dining at the 60-day mark, and for some reason the reservation system was down.
Oh, dude, always you have my luck. You seriously, I went to sign in for the Be Our Guest podcast cruise. Okay, I'm only cruising with like 100 friends, and the online check-in night. I mean, and I go to bed early. I'm like a 90-year-old lady. Like I go to bed at like 10 o'clock. So I'm like dying to stay up at 11 o'clock Central because it's midnight Eastern. So I'm like, eating snacks, trying to stay awake. Of course they do it. They do a maintenance upgrade on my night at midnight. Like, are you kidding me?
Of course. Yeah.
You totally got my luck.
Yeah. So, and thankfully we were able to get the reservations that we wanted for this trip. It's about like being flexible with your plans and knowing that you don't always have to be together on a trip. Like there's times where we meet up and we're all together, especially at meal times, but oftentimes we go our own separate ways, and let people have the trip that they want to have and the trip that they need to have at that time.
Cool. All right. And that's great advice right off the top. You don't have to be together all the time. And with the dining reservations, you're probably not going to find reservations for 14, 7 and 7, 8 and 6. That's why I used to tell my kids, you need to know your math families, like those little facts, whatever it takes. Just 14, how many ways can you get it? 2 and 12? That's probably not what you're going to do because, who are the 2 that are going to be out of your family? Like, we don't like you 2. The other 12, we're going to go eat together. That's probably going to start trouble. All right. So now you were affected by some weather last fall, and let's all knock on wood and cross our fingers. This doesn't happen this year, but you know how it is. We've seen how the weather is already this year. It probably will. But so tell us about the travel down and how weather impacted you guys.
Yeah. So the traveling down, because of the unpredictability that they were like Hurricane Ian kept shifting further and further north, and then further and further back south. We weren't really sure how we were going to get there, or what we were going to do. The original plan was to drive through to Tallahassee, which is what we typically do. Stay a night in Tallahassee, get up early, drive in the next morning, and head over to our resort, get checked in, and then mosey on to the parks or do whatever we plan for the day. But since we weren't sure and like the storm was just kind of shifting, we really just kind of threaded the needle and just kept going and ended up at the Hilton at Disney Springs the night after the hurricane had hit. So we knew that the parks were going to be closed at least for the next 2 days at that point. Or they had closed them for that day and they were going to be closed at least for the next day. So we were just going to make sure, we got there safely, which is actually ended up being really nice because the hurricane was passing through. There is literally nobody on the road. So we didn't hit any traffic getting into Orlando, and we were able to make it safely without, seeing too much debris on the roads or anything like that, just kind of being safe and driving slowly. In our 2-car caravan, I was heading down there and, spent the night in the Hilton Disney Springs, saw the Spaceship Earth lit up that night in, hopes of participating in the activities tomorrow. It's just a good night. It's a nice little place to stay, if you need a little holdover before you hit your Disney resort.
I've stayed there, but there were about 10,000 cheerleaders there at the time, so it wasn't the best place to stay. I'm sure it was way more peaceful in your in your night there because it was crazy. It wasn't just the cheerleaders; it's cheer moms that were down in the bar, and there was a karaoke guy too. It was wild when I was there. Just saying, your comps on Disney Springs, nah, they're wild. So you got there safely. That's good. And you were kind of proactive with the weather, which I like to hear, because that's the thing I think people need to keep in mind as we move forward, because in a couple of weeks, we're going to be in August. And before you know it, it is officially hurricane season, but really amps up in September.
Exactly.
If you are traveling in the fall, flying, driving, it doesn't matter. Taking a dog sled, I don't care. You got to watch the weather. And I know that the weather is super unpredictable in the southeastern United States. It can change in a blink, but you got to watch those tropical storms because they move, but you got to keep an eye on if one is headed for Florida because like you said, sometimes you got to leave early. Sometimes maybe you got to just shave a day off and go after, let it pass and go after, but kind of behind it. So you guys did that, and that's super smart. And I'm glad we got that out there too. We're full of tips already today.
Oh yeah.
It's good stuff. Okay, so let's talk about once you guys got out of the Hilton there at Disney Springs and actually started your trip. So where'd you guys stay on site?
So we stayed at Boulder Ridge Villas at the Wilderness Lodge. That's the home resort for my in-laws. We love it there. I mean, the lobby itself, just at Wilderness Lodge, is just amazing. Walking down, even the little mini lobby at the Boulder Ridge Villas, they have that fireplace. Like my mother-in-law loves to go sit in the chairs and just take a nap in the afternoons in those chairs by the fireplace in there. It's a peaceful resort. Like you're in the midst of the craziness that is Disney World, but you find this calm, tranquil, like you feel like you're in the Pacific Northwest, at a ski lodge that has just melted and the water's just running down the stream.
Yeah, I love that little lobby over at the Villas side there, Boulder Ridge. You're exactly right. It's so nobody's ever in it.
Exactly.
Shh, we just told thousands of people. Everybody, it's our secret. Shh, nobody go over there.
And that's where so because I'm also a runner too, so that's where the treadmills is in that lobby. And that's where the little thing is. So
you see, I haven't stayed at Wilderness Lodge since they took out the path over to Fort Wilderness.
They took out my trail. I couldn't run over to Fort Wilderness this time.
I used to love that because you'd see the deer and you'd see, beaver and you'd see, I mean, it was like running through, the wilderness, man. You'd see all kinds of wildlife.
Yeah, exactly.
I miss that. That's how long it's been since I've been at Wilderness Lodge. I need to get back. Okay, so now it looks like this was the day, though. You guys did a little Disney Springs pre-Halloween party. Is that what you guys did?
So on Friday, we decided that we were just doing the Halloween party, especially since that was supposed to be our original arrival day. That we would just kind of take a chill earlier day. So we hadn't been to Gideon's before just yet, and I really wanted to get the peanut butter cold brew coffee that they have there, more so than the cookies.
Yeah, so everybody says stuff rocks. I don't drink coffee, but everybody says that stuff is so. Even on the podcast, people are talking about it. So
it is delicious. I will admit that. We got there early before Disney Springs had opened because earlier that morning I had run just through around the area because the weather, it was so nice and cool. Like that's one of the things I can't say about after a hurricane. You had that little bit of cool calmness. So I was running in the Disney Springs area, got to pass the old preview center. But once Disney Springs opened for the day, we went over there. We stood in line. It wasn't too bad because we got there early enough. We didn't have to get into the virtual queue. I think we waited about 20 minutes or so to get in. My kids were a little freaked out going into the shop because it's a little bit, Gothic style on the inside.
No, really, they sell cookies.
They sell cookies and cake. So we got cookies, cake, and coffee. And then we made our way back to the hotel, and then we did our little transfer over to Wilderness Lodge.
Nice. Was the transfer that difficult? Because I mean, with that many people, but you guys drove, so with your own vehicle, it's not that big a deal because you just throw everything in the cars and just.
Right. So we did our transfer. And it was just the two cars, because my in-laws and my brother-in-law, they had already arrived and were actually already at Wilderness Lodge, through the hurricane. And we just arrived, and my family and my sister-in-law's family, we had arrived later. So it was just the two cars getting there. And we joined them, got into our rooms. It wasn't a big deal. We were finishing up our costumes in the room for the Halloween party later that night. And, we were kind of rushing to do that because we had reservations at Skipper Canteen for 4:05, and we couldn't get in until the park until right at 4:00, because that's the rule when you're going to the party, that you can get in at 4 if you don't have a theme park ticket.
Right. So that's all we're going to talk about next, because that's another great tip for folks that are not trying to use a Magic Your Way day on your Magic Your Way tickets. You're just going, and I think this is how you should do the both the Christmas and the Halloween party. You should either like have a day at the resort at your pool, Disney Springs, go play putt putt, whatever you have, just chill. I don't recommend like people ask, should I go to Epcot in the morning and go to the Halloween party? And it's too much, I think. Just chill out, have a sleep in day, whatever it is. I think you guys did it right, but you don't want to spend time eating during the party. And you guys did it right. You guys had a nice sit down meal, Skipper Canteen. It looks like right at 4:00 as you could enter. 4 or 5, 5 minutes to get in. Boom, sit down. Hey, we don't ever talk about Skipper Canteen. So how was the meal?
So, I mean, the food there is fantastic, and it's not too like adventurous. Like they have your standard like chicken and other dishes. They do have a little bit more adventurous fare, and if you are a partaker of adult beverages, this is a place to get adult beverages at Magic Kingdom because you can only get them at the sit-down restaurants inside the park. So if you're a partaker of that, but really like the food was delicious. The kids loved everything that they had. And just a fun atmosphere because it's really an extension of Jungle Cruise because your server is a skipper, they're cracking jokes with you, they're being sarcastic, so it's a great experience if you like the Jungle Cruise and just want a little bit of an extension from that and having a nice little sit down meal that's, not a princess meal, by going to Cinderella's Royal Table or Be Our Guest or anything like that. So.
That is true. It's a lot different theming, and you're right. Tastes like chicken is your basic chicken meal. Yeah. I mean, you got to have it on the menu because it tastes
like chicken because it is.
I've had it. so you guys dressed up though. You had Peter Pan themed costumes. It says for the big family. So
yes.
How did that go over? And what were some of your highlights from the party? What'd you guys like the best?
So I was Peter Pan's shadow. So I was dressed in all black.
Nice. I like it.
I was really excited about that. And thankfully it wasn't too crazy. I mean, it was light layers, like, running leggings and stuff like that, and a light long sleeve shirt, and a black felt hat with lights on it. And then, we had our Tinkerbell. We had pretty much all the standard characters. We had a Captain Hook, a Smee, Wendy, Lost Boys, John and Michael. Like it was a lot of fun because there was enough characters for the whole family to dress up as, which was great because sometimes you can't always find that. And they were fairly easy to do with light layers to where everybody was comfortable throughout the whole party.
Nobody fell out because of the heat. Because I did Captain EO one year and it almost killed me because I had the wig and like a big sweatsuit on, and it was August and it was bad.
Bad. So no, nobody passed out or anything like that. I think like highlights from the party, definitely going through the trick or treat stations. The cast members in their Halloween costumes are just fantastic, and they're so friendly, and tons of candy. I'm not saying you can fully make up your ticket machine, but you can come close and just getting candy. Like pretty much, I said, this is what we're doing for Halloween candy this year. We're just going to use the Halloween party candy as our candy for Halloween this year because there's no way we could eat all of that, with having so many of us. So just splitting it up between the families, and we use it as our Halloween party candy. I think the ride overlays, like, I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but the Mad Hatter Tea Party, the little ride overlay that they have for that ride is really fantastic because the lights going and the music, the Halloween music in the background, it just kind of sets a different tone for that. And obviously, doing the standards and having the shorter wait times is really the whole, if you're a ride person, like that's the reason to get this ticket is there's shorter wait times that you don't need to have that earlier park day ticket that we discussed. Like just going to the party is enough.
I agree.
To be able to get the rides. Obviously, there are special food offerings that are just for the party. I really enjoyed Sans they had a buffalo chicken like pocket pie. It was delicious. The only thing that was not great, and it's neither here nor there, they put like a sugar eyeball on it because it was meant to be like the book from Hocus Pocus, but it was delicious. So,
I'll have to try that out. I'm not going down this year, but I would. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not yet. I have an annual pass. if something pops up, and sometimes things do. You never know. So
Yeah, I mean, they always do.
radar.
But I mean, the party in and of itself is really great. The parade, especially like last year, they introduced or reintroduced Powerline Max. Uh,
Mhm.
was when he was making his first appearances at the parks, and we were set up on Main Street, like in between uh, the hub and Casey's Corner, and like the parade comes by, and when Max's section comes, they stop and they do a little dance party right there. And my wife was so excited. They invited the kids and people to jump up and dance with them to the songs from the Goofy movie, which is one of my wife's favorite movies for some reason. But got up and danced, and that was her highlight of the night, was dancing with Powerline Max.
I love it. Everybody's got their generational thing, right? Because you guys are a little bit younger, so I totally missed that. That was like when I started teaching. I think that's how old I am, right? I was a little bit before that, like all the Darkwing Duck and all that. Yeah, but I love that everybody can make their connections. And you mentioned so much candy. You're exactly right, because my wife and I were both teachers at the time. We used to go to Halloween parties every year, and we'd bring those sacks of candy back, and we go to the party like in late August, early September, and we'd use that candy to bribe our students all the way up until Halloween. That'd be our incentives to give out. You got a right answer on a multiplication contest. Woo, 3 Musketeers.
Oh yeah,
that was great.
My wife's a teacher too, so we definitely do that. The Halloween candy becomes teacher candy after the season because the kids cannot eat all the candy they get at Halloween.
It was impossible. And thank God we drove like you guys, because I don't think you could bring that back on the airplane. I mean, it was pounds of candy. I mean,
yeah,
it was ridiculous. It was, I mean, because at the end of the night, they're just you start off, they kind of budget it, at 7:00, you're getting 10 pieces, 8:30, you're getting 15. If you go around to 11:45, they got a shovel.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. If you're walking out and it looks like you don't have candy, they're giving you candy.
It's wild. All right. So the next day, you guys went over to the studios to give us some highlights from that day. You guys did Baseline. That's going to be our good friend Jared that sailed with us on the podcast cruise. I think he has stock in this place. He loves it. So love hearing about that. But where's some highlights over the studios?
Yeah. So the morning we did early entry, which is the 30 minutes that you get extra when you're staying at a Disney hotel. And with that, we were able to knock out, my brother-in-law took the older kids and we went to, we were going to Galaxy's Edge first. We were going to try and do Rise of the Resistance, but it was down to begin the morning. So my brother-in-law, we took the older kids, we went to Millennium Falcon. We're able to get on that as basically a walk-on, do that. And while we're kind of waiting to board our Falcon, that's when we get a text oh, the line's back up and we're in it for Rise, the rest of our group, all the other adults. And they had talked to one of the cast members, and they're not saying that this is going to happen every single time, but they said, hey, we'll just let your party join them once they're done with their ride. So we were able to ride Millennium Falcon and then go directly to Rise of the Resistance and join them through the fast path, the Lightning Lane line. So got a little bit of, pixie dust that morning, which was really good.
I mean, for Rise of the Resistance, man, you guys got
exactly.
The force was strong with you.
The force was definitely strong that morning, and it's just such a fantastic ride. All the technology that has gone into making that attraction, and just the walkthrough in and of itself, and the scope of it. When you walk into that room with all the stormtroopers, it's just your mind is just I'm really on a starship right now.
Right. I know, because Paige couldn't believe it. She's like, what? Because we just took her, for the first time to the Galaxy's Edge a couple weeks ago. And she's been to Walt Disney World so many times, we never in Galaxy's Edge, and it kind of blew her mind. I was like, yeah, I told you, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. The whole land in and of itself is just so well done that, you really feel like you are a part of that franchise at that moment,
Yeah, I mean, it was so cool. She made us walk all the way back there so she could get a Coke out of one of the thermal detonators. I'm like, dude, I have a bunch of Diet Coke ones at home. She's like, no, I want a Coke one. I'm like, but we're up by Backlot Express. They have regular sodas here. Oh, okay, fine.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, the Coke stand right there at the first one wasn't open because it had just rained. We had to walk all the way back to where they sell the popcorn and like the
Oh my
market. I
goodness.
was like, you're killing me. Again, what you do for your kids, even when they're
Yes, very
20,
true.
26, even, you know what I'm saying? Like it never ends. Okay, so but after this, it looks like you guys had a good lunch at, dare I say, sci-fi. Everybody goes to sci-fi, but me. Anyway, go ahead.
So yeah, so this was our first time going to sci-fi. Like even my wife's family, who they've been going, since the early aughts, is when they joined the vacation club. You know, they had never been to sci-fi, so I was really excited. We were set up in two cars right next to one another, because again, two parties. Because one, the cars only seat so many people.
There's no stretch limo in there that I know of. Like at 14 ain't gonna work in a car there.
Right, exactly. So we had our two cars right next to each other, which it worked out perfect because like everybody was able to talk and sit. Again, it's your standard theme park fare, but it was a good burger, good chicken wings that they had there. Really, it was just the atmosphere is what gets you. Like sitting out there watching those old sci-fi movies that are up on the screen, and you really do feel like you're at a drive-in theater. Which I've never gotten to experience in real life, just given my age. I'd love to be able to do that because I know that there's still a few around in the country someday.
I've never been to one either in my whole life. I mean, I'm
Wow.
older. I've just never gone. I know.
Yeah. So I mean, and it's just like they're just not around.
Yeah.
So definitely a great experience. It's also nice and air conditioned.
Totally.
Which at the end of September, beginning of October, it is still very hot in Orlando, Florida.
It's a good call. So now you guys were winning this day. So not only did you have lunch at Sci-Fi, it looks like you went over and had some adult beverages at, like I said, Baseline, and you got to go to Oga's, kind of doubling back on the Galaxy's Edge experience. And then later on in the evening, you did a monorail lounge crawl. So,
Yes.
I mean, this sounds like a really good day for the adults.
This was a very good day. It was definitely a long day. To be perfectly honest, like if I had to do it, probably would not do Oga's again. It's not the best vibe for kids. Like they do have some kids drinks and stuff, but unless your kids are like super uber Star Wars fans, like they're just not going to get what it's trying to portray there. And especially because like for that, like our party really had to get split up and we weren't seated right next to each other. And yet we were seated with a party like at one of the longer tables along the side, the booths on the side. It seemed like it may have not been the best fit for us at that time. It was definitely cool going in there. You felt the vibe of the cantina, and the drink was okay. It was, it was a drink. I kind of got their old fashioned type version, their version of an old fashioned. Don't remember what it was called, but it had some spacey name. And I mean, it was good. But really, like Baseline is such a great addition to that part because like you can just walk up, you can grab a beer, grab a flight, grab a beer pretzel and some cheese and mustard, and it's just a great little spot to grab a snack, or even if you're by yourself, grab a meal. Because that little charcuterie board that they have, it can really be a meal for one person. And the beers are great because they're local beers from around the country, especially like the Northwest and stuff like that. So it's just a great vibe there, and you can take it and walk around the parks with it, and it's nice and cooling, especially on a hot day. And then that evening, what we've made a tradition is the adult kids. So my wife and I, my brother and sister-in-law, and their spouses, we get one night where the grandparents are watching all the kids, and we get to go out and do an adult thing without our kids. And this time we decided to do the monorail lounge crawl. And we started at Steakhouse 71 Lounge and got some drinks there and a couple of appetizers. And then we hopped on the monorail, headed to Tambu Lounge, and got our Lapu Lapus and our other tiki drinks that are out there, as well as had some sticky wings. And a little pro tip is that at Tambu Lounge, if you like the noodles or the wings from Ohana, even the bread pudding, you can get them at the Tambu Lounge.
Oh, hang on a minute. Got to have a bell on that because that's a huge tip. I mean, because everybody loves that stuff. I mean, come on. If you don't like that stuff, quit listening to the show.
So definitely pro tip, you can get Ohana wings, noodles,
Oh,
pudding, all at Team Blue Lounge. You just have to ask for it, and the servers are more than happy to accommodate with that. So we were there that night. It was great, just kind of meandering around. And then we made our way over to the Grand Floridian and did Misner's to finish off the night. And then we took the boat back to Wilderness from the TTC, which not the TTC, from the Magic Kingdom entrance to kind of wrap up the night.
that's a good night, though. I mean, that's a great way because, I mean, I think that's the beauty, and I've never really done this, but having the extended family trip is that, the grandparents probably got a huge kick out of spending time with the grandkids, right? They feel like they're winning. I mean, I hope so. I hope the kids weren't too much. And you guys got to have that awesome night where, where else can you go and go to these lounges and have such a fun opportunity? Nobody has to worry about driving. You have a monorail, you have boats, and you can have the company because you probably all live in different places. I mean, what a great opportunity to take advantage of the situation you're in with an extended family trip.
Yeah, it was really great. I mean, and of course, like at the lounges, like they have football on, and we're all SEC people as you are yourself, but except we have LSU, we have Mississippi State, we have Auburn, and I know that you're a quasi Bama fan when you're not rooting for your Tigers.
Just kidding.
So, I do have to say, little side note. So LSU, big LSU fan right here. Year 2, Kim Mulkey, national champion.
I know. Hey, no, I get it. I have a former student who's a defensive backs coach for the LSU Tigers, the football team. So there you go. Former 5th grade student. That's how old I am. He was in my class. Now he works for Coach Kelly. He's a defensive backs coach on your team. So there you go. We're helping you.
Help us another year 2 national championship.
Anyway, yeah, Coach Steeples, go LSU, go Tigers, GEAUX. I'll say it one time here for you. Guys, okay, we're running a little short on time, so I want to get to the next day because I love this next day. Scotty G will love this next day because you started off at his favorite place, Topolino's Terrace, for breakfast. Then you went to Scotty G's favorite theme park, which is Animal Kingdom. So walk us through this day. This is the Scotty G dream day, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, so it was great because this was like the main reservation that we wanted to get, and the issues that we had with the reservation system being down, I was getting really nervous about not being able to get this particular reservation for our family. So we woke up early. We drove over because we didn't want to take chances with bus or transportation like that. So we drove over to the Riviera Resort. Went up. We were the very first reservation of the day, and so along with a lot of other people, they're seating everybody. So we're seated at this big circle table, all of us together, which is really great. And I think the best part about that breakfast is, aside from the food being absolutely delicious, having the steak and the waffles and everything that they have there, the characters there are just so unique with their outfits that they have. Mm-hmm. And having that painter Mickey and sculptor Donald, it's such a unique experience. And having the kids just light up when they come to the table, and you just have that personal time with them, it just, nothing beats that moment than a character breakfast, especially that one, because the food is so phenomenal. And then, of course, at the end, we go out onto the terrace and take our big family picture because we're all wearing our matching shirts that day that I made, and everybody's ready to go.
Gotta have this shirt. That is a wonderful place to get pictures. If you ever go to Topolino's, make sure you go. That's another hot tip. You have to go out on the terrace day or night and get a picture because it's the best. The view out there is unbelievable. So yeah, make sure you do that. Okay, so then you guys head over to Animal Kingdom, and it looks like Lily's your daughter, I'm guessing, right?
Yes, Lily's our second of 3.
First ride on Everest. I mean, proud dad. Anytime something like this happens at a theme park, right? Proud dad moment. I mean,
absolutely.
That's a huge coaster.
Yeah. So Everest is my wife's favorite ride. So obviously she wanted to be she has to be a part of that first ride for the kids. So we did the divide and conquer because we have a little one that's not quite tall enough to ride all the rides just yet, especially that one. So I held back, and she was able to ride it. Like Lily, um, I'm not saying that she's a full-on adrenaline junkie, but she's not afraid to try something new. She loved it. It may not have been her favorite ride, but she enjoyed it enough to where she wasn't like freaked out getting off of it.
She did. I mean, she did it. I mean, that's amazing. Yeah, because there are a lot of people look at that and say, "Nope."
Exactly.
Pass. And one of the things you mentioned, which is I think kind of interesting, because you only put a few notes about Animal Kingdom. You mentioned the gorilla exploration trails,
Yeah.
and that it stood out enough to be noted. So what made you bring that up?
So yeah, it's just something that we had not done before, having gone on a few several trips before this. It's just, you know, I hate to say it, but like Animal Kingdom kind of becomes like our throwaway day. Like
Mhm.
if we go, we go. If not, you know, that's great too. So since it was just our family, there's the five of us, we decided to just kind of chill and just take our time meandering through. The wait times are just really high that day, especially for the safaris and for Pandora rides. It's just, let's do this. We've never done this before. Let's go take a quiet little walk around, and you get to see a lot of different animals. Like the tigers are a part of that as well, like towards the end of it. um, and you can get kind of up close with those animals that they have there. um, and it's peaceful, and you can take your time just walking through it. You don't have to feel like you're rushed or you're standing in line waiting and waiting and waiting. You can just really just walk through and enjoy the fantastic theming that the Imagineers came up with to make these spaces great for these animals that they're taking care of out there.
Right. When you discover it, you feel like, oh man, I found something that hardly anybody's going to see. Yeah, I guess that's how I felt. Like I didn't go through there probably my fifth time in the park, and I love them. Also, the Maharaja Jungle Trek, or however you
Right.
put it, love that other one too. Just want to make sure we get all this in. So you guys also went back to your resort, which again, here's another tip: if you're going to stay at a deluxe resort, DVC or otherwise. And I fell into this trap when we were down at Grand Floridian a couple weeks ago. Spend some time at your resort. You're paying for this deluxe accommodation. You're going to have a sweet pool. You're going to have great dining options. You're probably going to have lots of recreational activities. And you guys mentioned this here in your notes here. Take advantage of those things. Don't be in the theme parks from rope drop, from morning rope drop till the park closes, and stay in deluxe. You're going to miss out on a lot of what you're paying for. So you spend some time back at the Wilderness Lodge.
Yeah, so we wanted to make sure that the kids had some pool time because they love swimming. So pretty much headed back, went out to the pool for a little while. And what's great about the pools at Walt Disney World is that the lifeguards do, and they have activity cast members that'll come out and they'll play games with the kids, and they'll have little prizes for them. And it's a lot of fun. It makes it really interactive. So you're not just like swimming in a pool or going down a water slide. It really is an experience in and of itself. And then later on that evening, we set up in some couches over at Geyser Point, got some charcuterie boards, little bites for the kids to have. And then that's also right by the fire pit, which is where they do the s'mores each night. And so kids obviously did their s'mores, which was great. And they enjoyed that. Great little dessert, quick little dessert. And if you're looking for them, any of the little gift shops have the little s'mores provisions that you can purchase. Always a good idea, and they'll have that stuff out there for them and in the night. So yeah, definitely spending time at your resort, especially Wilderness Lodge, is just it's fantastic.
You know what, too? It just from what I've heard from people, and even from my own childhood, when you ask the kids probably in 10 years what they'll remember from this trip, likely they'll remember making s'mores more than even going on Everest and maybe riding Space Mountain or the teacups at the Magic Kingdom. We think about this, even the meal at Topolino's Terrace, about possibly all these things that we schedule 60 days out, and we plan out 6 months in advance, thinking, okay, we got to make sure we do this because it's a great experience. That's what Walt Disney World's all about. It's about the picture on the teacups.
Exactly.
Making those s'mores sometimes with like a little brother or cousin or grandpa, like that's the stuff 15 years from now they'll be talking about. And you know what? You took advantage of that. And I applaud you for that, because I think so many times we skip right by those things.
Yeah, it's the little moments that are there, and especially on a Disney vacation, um, you know, at these resorts, sometimes they'll have characters that will pop up, and just do quick little photo ops, like as you're walking by, which is also, that extra little magic that it offers by staying on property within the bubble.
And apparently, Gabe, one of your children there, lost a tooth. So I hope the Tooth Fairy could find their way to Walt Disney World.
Uh, the Tooth Fairy indeed can find their way to Walt Disney World.
That's good.
We have this thing where, at least in our family, we have the Tooth Fairy's phone number, so we can text.
Because kids listen, and they got to know this. That's important information that they can, the Tooth Fairy can find you if you're at Pop Century, Boulder Ridge, the Riviera, All Star Music. They can find you.
Exactly.
Good stuff. All right, so your last day, it looks like you guys spent some time over at Epcot. Now, I'm getting to the headline here. I see that you did Guardians 3 times.
Yeah.
I'm not doing Guardians 3 times in my life. I've done it twice and I'm tapped out. And I did it twice, like separated by a year. I'd do that ride again. If I did it a third time, it would kill me. But you must have an iron stomach. So you guys took minivans over to Boardwalk and went in the International Gateway. So
yeah,
that's a sweet
little mini secret pro tip, because we knew we wanted to rope drop Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. So obviously going in through International Gateway is the quickest way to get there. So it worked out perfectly using the minivan service. And what's nice about the minivan service is that they also have car seats if you have little ones that need them, and they'll get that all set up for you. And, they know the ins and outs of Disney using that. So, it was a splurge, but it was definitely worth it in our minds, especially given what we wanted to do. Because that morning we had gotten our first boarding group for Guardians at the 7 o'clock drop. We made it in. And how I ended up getting 3 is that Epcot had the extra magic hours for the deluxe villa resorts that day. So we knew that we were staying late. So we were also able to get the second drop at the 2 o'clock time, or the third, the third, whatever the third drop was, we were able to get times for that. And because we were a large group, I just scheduled everybody, and you can always take off as time goes on. So we get to the end of the day when it's our time to go. It's after Harmonious has played. And so people are deciding that they're ready to go. Our older people and some of our younger people, but because everybody had a reservation time, we just kind of borrowed magic bands.
Yeah, that's how Mallory and Emily got to ride 3 times when we were there, because they could use my magic band. Because I had purchased the lightning lane, and guess what? I would pay you double not to get on it again.
So really, like the second 2 times that we rode it, it was pretty much back to back, because it was, after Harmonious, we had to make our way all the way from Japan all the way back up to the front of the park to be able to get on. And so, we did a loop around, and surprisingly enough, was able to get 3 different songs in that day of riding 3 different times. So
that's awesome. So apparently you're a huge, do you think Guardians is it in the top 3 attractions at Walt Disney World? I mean, is it what people say?
It's definitely of new attractions. Absolutely. Cause I'm a classic ride person. I love Space Mountain, love, Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, those are probably my top 3 of all time. Just because I love those classic rides. But like, if you're talking about, newer rides, definitely coasters is such an incredible experience going through it. And the technology of the Omni coaster, and I know it makes a lot of people sick. And of course, having to come down the stairs after you're finished. And,
yeah, that's just a cruel joke. Like, if you put the stairs there, for real.
Yeah, right. All right. I get it, and I think, I don't have a whole lot of, I don't get motion sickness, all that, like, ever. So I knew it would be fine. And it's such I like the length of it. Like I haven't had the opportunity to ride Tron yet, but I like it feels it's a good length for the time that you're waiting, for the effort that you're putting in to get into the virtual queue or buying a lightning lane for it. Whereas what I've heard, because I mean, obviously we know Tron from Shanghai, and now that it's here in the States, it's like, you know what it is, and it just seems a little short, and maybe that it's not fully worth the effort that you're putting in to get on it.
It is short, but at this point in my life, I'm cool with that. Like, I don't need to get my money's worth all that much. Like, I'm good. I'm like, okay, we're good. That's cool. I'm not going to. Everybody else is like, I need more. I'm like, no, we're good. Let's get off. I have my fun. So yeah, no, but that's a great conversation. I like though that you like the classics, but I can appreciate. I know why people love Guardians. I mean, it is unreal. Like, it's smooth as butter. It goes a billion, the coaster is so unique, and it's how it moves and how it interacts with the screens, how it has the immersive audio. I get it. I mean, I know why everybody loves it. It just doesn't love me back, so not everybody's gonna, like everything. So a couple of the highlights. So you guys got to go in the DVC member lounge, because you guys are all DVC. That's kind of cool over there in the Imagination Pavilion. I've been up there a couple times because Scott's DVC. Yeah, that's kind of a cool little place.
Yeah, I mean, to anybody that if you don't have a family member or know somebody, look around for the little dongles that they have on their Magic Bands that say DVC and make friends.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I say. If you're not DVC, the best thing is to have a friend who's DVC.
Exactly. So, I mean, the lounge is it's really cool. It's a cool little space. You get free soda and a snack while you're up there, which is really nice. And just kind of chilling for a little bit, a little bit of respite in the middle of your park day is never a bad thing. Just taking a break, and it's cool being up in those pyramids.
Yeah,
the views out from there,
especially for somebody like you, that's into the Disney history. Like, you're up there where you've heard all these stories, from back in the 80s. Like, you're there,
exactly.
That little access there. So kind of wrapping up, but you guys were also there during Food and Wine Festival, during more of a traditional time last year. Any highlights or any suggestions for folks that might be going to the festival this year when it comes? I mean, obviously the festival's going on now, but in the traditional times in the fall this year,
right?
I still can't get my head around that.
I mean, there's so many options, like walking around World Showcase as far as food goes. I put in the notes that I did, or I had attempted to do the Emil's Fromage montage, which was the cheese scavenger hunt, where you had to go to a booth and get a cheese item from 5 different booths to be able to get a prize at the end. However, I waited too long, and all the booths, like the booth to get the prize was closed by the time I made it back to go get there, because the food booths close before the fireworks start at night. So you have to remember that if you're going to do those scavenger hunts, to get them done early enough to where you can get your prize before all the booths close and you can't get it. So little tip there, but just taking your time to really learn about the different cultures that they have throughout there, because they add so much extra experience and extra atmosphere by having these festivals. And I know they have, you have Food and Wine, and then you have Festival of the Holidays, and then Festival of the Arts, and Festival Flower and Garden. It feels like a never-ending festival going through Epcot sometimes, but they add so much extra culture of places that we don't normally get to see and we don't normally get to taste. Which is really great that they offer that throughout pretty much throughout the entire year.
Last thought, Harmonious. Happy it's gone, sad it's gone.
So, I mean, I'm kind of indifferent. Watching it, it felt choppy. Like, it felt like it was cut oddly and it didn't flow like I felt like Illuminations did or Happily Ever After does. It felt kind of pieced together wrong. Like, I could get over the fact that the starship barges were in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
If the show was good and flowed. I mean, obviously the arrangements were beautiful, listening to the music, but I want a show that flows.
It was kind of like a greatest hits album, right? Just like this segment, this segment, this segment, this segment. Yeah. Yeah. But it was, I mean, the pieces were kind of nice. I mean, I get that. And I wasn't a harmonious fan at all. But when you got into like one song, like it was beautiful. But you're
Yeah,
right. I mean, it was just like a collection of, but what was the overall story, kind of thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Where's the story behind it? Like, I get it. It's a whole world thing bringing together, and the individual parts were good, but as a whole, it didn't really hit it for me.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate your time. Let me ask you one last thing and then we'll jump out of here and let everybody get on with their Mondays here and tackle the week. But as you look back on this trip, it's been a year now. What's the overall memory like that you remember? Maybe you've given tons of great tips, which are going to help people go with their trips here here in the next few months. But you look back, every trip's kind of got its like one funny story or it's one memory that's attached to it. What is it for this trip? Like, what's the one lasting thing for this trip?
I think it's really just the memory of being all together, like, because we do live apart. Like, some of us are closer than others, but like we have people in Alabama and Baton Rouge and our little corner, that we don't get to see each other on a regular basis. Like having that time of just really being together, especially like for the breakfast, the character breakfast at Topolino's, and being able to take that big family picture up on the terrace with Spaceship Earth in the background. It's just one of those things about making the memories, and it is those little things, how you mentioned of they're going to remember the s'mores. They're not going to remember the big things that we did. They'll remember the little things, and using that time and making the memories that you can while you have that time.
Absolutely. Couldn't say it better myself. Steven, hey, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. It made our Mondays all a lot better, and wish LSU a great football season here as we move into the football season here in about 1 month. Thank God football will be back. I just found out, it's just side note, but our audience, a lot of our audience will appreciate this. Our cheerleaders, the high school cheerleading team, which my daughter is on and my wife is on the fundraising boosters for. I'm on Twitter today as we're recording, and I see the advertisement. We have a big trivia night. Okay. So, and I know because they've asked me, I might have to host it, like, be the person who reads the trivia questions and entertains that night, because they had somebody that may not be able to do it. Anyway, I'm like, okay, I can do that. That's fine. I used to do this kind of stuff all the time in St. Louis. So I see the advertisement for it on Twitter today. It is on Saturday night, November 11th. And so all of a sudden I panic. So I'm like, wait a second. That's during football season on a Saturday night. Like, wait a second. Wait, what? So I go immediately. You know what I did? I had to look at the football schedule, right?
Of course.
It's a home game against Tennessee. I'm like, and we have season tickets. I'm like, do you realize if Mizzou was rolling, because Tennessee will probably be rolling this year,
right?
I might not be there.
Oh yeah. Well, so funny you mentioned November 11th. That's our anniversary. And we specifically got married on a Friday night. So
I tried to explain the whole third Saturday in October kind of thing, right? Like, I mean, you don't understand. Like, my wife's like, I didn't set the date. There's some other lady, but who? I need a name. I need anyway. We're still recording. I got to throw everybody out there, just so you know, this is how things work in the Southeastern Conference. I was just like, what is going on? But
it just means more.
I appreciate it. Wish you guys good. You'll have a great football season down there in Baton Rouge. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Don't forget, our show is brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. Check them out for all your Disney trip planning needs. Even folks in the Big 10 and the Big 12 and the Pac-12 and the ACC. We help Clemson fans even. We love, you know what? I can't say anything bad about Clemson. I've never met a Clemson fan that isn't the nicest person in the world. Mike Bankhead. Nicest guy in the world ever. Okay, so you want to book a great Disney trip? I'm here to help you out. Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line Adventures by Disney. Just swing by the magicforless.com today. Fill out the quote form. We'll take great care of you from there. Also, please use our Amazon affiliate link, beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you to our patrons who support us and allow us to put the show out 3 to 4 times every single week. It's patreon.com/beourguestpodcast. And you can get our bonus show called Mike in the Midwest. Give me a follow on social media at beourguestmike. I'm on Twitter and Instagram and now Threads. Checking that out. So follow me over there. And don't forget, Sunday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central, we'll have the live call-in show. So join Scott and myself as we take your calls and talk Disney with you. So you want to be a part of the show? Sunday night is your time, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Join us there. One last time, don't forget, we're having the BOGP Cares event down at Give Kids the World Village. That's going to be the weekend of September 8th and 9th. You can join us on that Friday. We're volunteering at the village from 7:30 to 10:30 in the morning, serving breakfast to the families that Give Kids the World. So if you would like to volunteer with us, we'd love to have you side by side. We're going to be having a good time there. Just go to the Facebook page to search for Be Our Guest Podcast. The forms are there to register for that. And then on Saturday, we're doing a 6-hour live show from the village. It's going to be from noon to 6 Eastern. We're giving away a trip to Walt Disney World during that show. We're giving away a lot of other prizes. We're going to auction off prizes. We're going to take donations for the village. It's going to be a ton of fun. So mark the weekend of September 8th and 9th to join us either virtually or in person down at Give Kids the World. It's the BOGP Cares weekend. We're going to support the folks at Give Kids the World and help them make some magic for those families that really need it. All right, we're going to jump out of here and let you get on with your weekend. Thanks so much for starting another week with us. We appreciate that so much. So for Steven, I'm Mike, wishing you a great Monday. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. Woo, it is hotter than smoke in this office because I closed my vent and I didn't realize it until about 10 minutes into the show.
Oh, really?
And I got all these lights on. Oh my goodness. Well, thanks so much for doing that. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, no, I really, so this was actually the first of like 3 trips that we did this past year.
Oh my gosh.
Well, and one was, so the last trip that we did was actually a very special one. Our youngest is a cancer survivor. She's been cancer-free for almost 2 years. And we actually, our last trip was that was her wish trip. And we stayed at Give Kids the World, and it was just such an incredible experience.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Yeah, I love that place. I've been there a few times, and it is just, I mean, we will always support them because, I mean, I when I tell people it's like angels on earth, the people that work there, the volunteer there. Because I was always scared to go there for years at first. 'Cause I thought I'd be like sad. I was like, I can't handle it. Like, I just can't. As a teacher, I didn't want to see sadness. Like, I hated when I saw kids struggling. But then when I went the first time, I was like, this is not sad. This is inspirational. Like, it's unreal.
It's such a wonderful organization. Like the place itself, we did a pool day there as well, which was great. It's just such a good way to celebrate her journey. And our journey as a family through her diagnosis and treatment. And now, in her hopefully recovery, hopefully, she remains good. Just being able to be a part of and now being a part of that family, I will promote it to the ends of the earth. Just
nice.
The wonderful work that they're doing.
Same. I'll always be in their corner. I mean, I have, this has been on my wrist for over 10 years. It's never been off since we did our first fundraiser for Give Kids the World. I bought it at the village. We donated. We did one of those big check presentations.
Yeah.
Not called like the golf check, just to get a picture or something. We were down there and, but we went into that little shop and they had these things and I put this on. It's been on me so long. I put it on the day because we were down over for a wine and dine race weekend when we did it. And it was a night race. So that's how long ago that was. And it's a place we'll always support and they're awesome. And I can't wait to get back. So man, so we'll keep your daughter in our prayers here. I promise you that. That's recovery. That's awesome. Well, hope you can give us maybe a ring during that show because we're going to have we'll do the video calls and stuff during. I don't think I'll be able to use the phones because I don't think I'll be able to hook it up down there, but we'll do the video thing where we can add people in and maybe share your experience. That'd be great to help people know the impact they make. Yeah,
that'd be great. If definitely have it on my calendar to be able to be listening during that time. So
that would be awesome. I'd really appreciate that. I'd love to talk to you on that Saturday.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Hopefully it doesn't interfere with football. No, we do have a game that day, but it's against and I'm missing a game again because it's a home game, but I think it's against South Dakota State or something. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's September, so it's early. It's, it should be okay. I think
we were picking dates and they had the dates were moving into October. I was like, oh no. We kept being unavailable. And we just kept pushing it earlier to September. I'm like, Okay,
Yeah,
I can sacrifice these non-con
like,
games.
yeah, for LSU, it's first weekend in November because that's our Bama weekend.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. We
he's always stricken from any schedule. So
I know. You gotta, who doesn't look at the schedule? Because I mean, like our high school is a huge like football high school, and I mean, because we're like state champs,
yeah,
and we're like 120 miles from Mizzou, and we have like 4 players now that are from our high school that play for Mizzou. So we have a lot of families that are season ticket holders. So I'm like, just from a like financial aspect, like that was a dumb move because
yeah,
you're competing. I was telling like the Venn diagram because my wife's a teacher, right? I said like, the Venn diagram of Mizzou fans and Howell fans are like the circle in the middle is where everybody's sitting because they're both
yeah,
like you don't want to be fighting with that because I'm like that. If Mizzou has a bad season, it won't be a big deal. But if that could be a huge, huge game if we have a
yeah,
good season.
absolutely good.
So I'm just, but again, I'm a Mizzou fan. I'm always optimistic. We'll probably be 3-5 by then. So with like on our 4th quarterback, but who knows?
Hey, y'all held your own against Georgia for a good bit.
Oh my God, don't bring that game up. I almost got
you were there
that night. I know. I started smack talking at about the 3rd quarter, and that just did us in. Georgia fans right in front of us at our season tickets. I don't know how they got the tickets, and they were drunk. And they were trying to, and I was like, "You're going down. It was nice being number 1, wasn't it? Roll Tide." No, they didn't like that.
that they did.
Yeah, I had to get, I had to escape out of that pretty quick. Okay, I got to roll because I'm about to die here because of the heat. But then you take care of that family, and we'll be in touch.
All right, thanks, Mike. Have a good one.
You take care. Bye.